I think sometimes I talk about dating here when I'm out podcasting because of the fact that I was never that good at it, but I read so much about it. I actually had somebody in my car for Uber the other day asking advice because he was really interested in a girl. But the thing is, that guy's gone through a lot, like 23 years old, and he'd been in and out of jail several times, drug-related offenses, and really was just trying to find a way to get some reason to not be, to kind of just lose his way. And he found a girl that he's been very interested in, and he's pursuing. He's kind of chasing. And I had picked him up from spending time with her, and I saw her. She's a really, reasonably pretty girl, young, from what it looked like. They had a nice embrace before he walked. He went ahead and got in my car. They did not kiss, but still, it was just like a nice embrace. And I guess he was talking about like he was spending time before work to spend time with her. And his question was, just he was worried about losing her. And it's like he kind of initially just started with her. Doesn't sound like it was anything sexual at this point, but he was just feeling like, the risk, the thought of losing out, the thought of missing out, the fear of missing out with this girl. And that was something that he had an issue with. And it's so common right now about there are certain things that people will still do to try to go ahead and play games or to play the dating game to try to hold on to somebody they want because of the thought process that when you get a girl that you really want, there's a different, and ladies, I know you get this too. There's the guys that you really want. Then there's the guys that always can come up to you and you're like, well, there's no interest in them because they're not what I'm looking for because I wasn't chasing you. I wasn't interested in you. You're interested in me, but you're going to have to convince me to be interested in you. Like, got to turn it around. And the guys get the same kind of feeling too. So, flirting and negging is the subject here on the program. First of all, neggings. There are recognizing the form of emotional manipulation. This is a pickup artist thing. And negging this is how it's described by a licensed mental health counselor, Amanda Levinson. Negging is a form of emotional manipulation that is carried out through backhanded compliments and insults disguised as constructive criticism. Negging is deployed by people who wish to undermine, belittle, and control the people around them with the intention to make the person begin to overly desire and depend on the negger's, Negger, approval for self-esteem. Don't think I said the other word. I don't do that. That word negging first showed up in the world of pickup artists, men who prey on women and seek to break them down in order to have sex with them. I don't think it's break them down. Like, there is some that are definitely going for manipulation, but negging is kind of just trying to... they talk about its IOIs, or its indications of interest, is what it is. I've read a lot of these self-help books. What can I say? Neil Strauss and others. And mystery, I know. I read all those books. I know what it is. Really was a thing like 10, 15 years ago. But now today, I don't know, people are probably still trying to do that. Because the other thing, too, is that when you do the pickup game, you're also trying to do it in front of a crowd when you're absolutely trying to get the girl that you want and you're trying to get them in bed that night. So it is manipulation, but I don't think it's the manipulation they're talking about where you're trying to destroy this person's will. What really is trying to happen is that you're just trying to try to bring that person through some ways of emotions, a little bit of attraction, but also trying to say, well, I'm not just enamored with you, so I'm going to like tease you a bit. And the tease, you could say that it's, negative and it's, improper and it's very demeaning, depending on what the backhanded compliments are. I think it really comes down to what that is, what the actual compliments might be. Because some people might just take it the wrong way. But also, some women or some men just need to realize they got to be smart enough to know, okay, if this person's trying to say that to me, you call them out in their shit. I remember one girl I did that with, because let's just talk like this, okay? I used to be a bit of a proponent for Likas 101. Tom Likas, the talk show host, talked about how you should be handling women if you want to have sex, not dating. You should not get married. There's all these different rules, the tenets of Likas 101. Never pay more than $40 on a date. you never get married, and if you don't get sex on by the third date, dump her, leave her. That's it. And one of the things he would talk about in the tenets was backhanded compliments. One that I did use on a girl, and I was interested in her, and I got to talk to her, and I did this whole. Well, I don't know about you. I don't know if you. I don't know how often you hear it, but I think you're beautiful. Kind of like the thought, like, oh, every guy should be able to be saying that she doesn't hear it enough because she's feels insecure about her looks. Well, that girl actually called me out of my shit, and that was the funny part because we would just kind of as a running joke, and I actually got us closer. It was kind of interesting like that, but yeah, bit of negging. Like, there's a thing where you can be playful. I mean, you could be yourself, and you can make jokes, and if said partner laughs at your jokes, or calls you out on your shit and laughs back at you, or jokes back at you, then you might have somebody you can hold on to. That's the idea here. Going more into the story, they go and talk about backhanded compliments, and they say, here's some of the ones that they have. I don't usually go for women like you, but for you, I'll make an exception. Wow, you're actually really interesting. I didn't expect that. I really like your outfit, but you must know that those shoes don't go with it. You have a great figure. How much did it cost you? Oh, that's nasty. Oh, my goodness. You look good. I guess today you finally made an effort. That's just wrong. And, yeah, like, this is the backhand compliments to get the really good-looking girls. Because there's a thought process. When you got a really good-looking girl, she's totally insecure. And they're the ones that rarely get hit on. So, like, the fact that they're getting a lot of attention, but then somebody trying to like break them down, that's the thought process. Then there's also insulting you and dressing it up as a question as part of negging. Are you really going to wear that? Are you sure you need a second portion of dinner? What was the thought behind this look? I guess you're really brave going outside looking like that. Then there's constructive criticism. Now, these are just wrong. You'd actually look kind of sexy if you lost 10 pounds. I have heard girls tell me that they get this shit. Guys, stop that shit, man. Stop it. It's really best for people with your hair color to not wear bright colors. A haircut would balance out how asymmetrical your face is. What the hell, man? Stop it. Then they compare you to others. Okay, you're no Scarlett Johansson, but you do look good in that dress. See, that's, I get that one, I guess. Well done on getting your new job. It's a shame you don't earn as much as me. Now, that's low. That's pretty nasty right there. You're almost as funny as my ex. Actually, if you say that, you might as well just get dumped, because that is pretty off right there, more or less. Now, they also talk about the fact that negging's born out of toxic masculinity. No, it can go both ways. Stop it. Don't do that. These people, what they have, man. I don't get where they come from. They just feel like the fact that they talk about toxic masculinity, they bring it up like halfway through the story. Of course they would. Anyway, let's move on to flirting. Flirting classes. Julia Nachtolin at Insider.com says she learned 4 surefire techniques to attract dates. I wanted to share this with you. She took a one-on-one flirting class with a dating expert who specializes in text-based flirting. You might learn something for this, folks. Here we go. She practiced flirting via text message during a first date with a random stranger. So let's go into what she finds out. And I got to go through so much to get to this point, but we're going to get there soon enough. So she printed out a real man's Bumble profile to practice flirting over dating apps and instructed to play herself and send an initial message saying she'd play Mike, my mysterious suitor. So she reads a profile and says that he didn't understand the concept of a nap. And she froze. How can I flirt with someone who explicitly dissed one of my favorite pastimes? Well, she wrote to Mike, we need to have a talk about your disdain for naps. So take something from the profile and try to ice break that. And then Mike writes back saying she must have never had a life-changing nap before. Then afterwards she says, fair enough. And then she says, told me not to worry. Flirting via text is the concept her clients find hardest to grasp. So interests and desires to suggest how a flirtatious conversation could go, with the ultimate goal of setting clients free to flirt on their own. Now, this dating expert uses a Tyra Banks inspired exercise to show how she gets into the flirting mindset. She turned smize, Tyra Banks' made up word for smiling with your eyes, into flies, or flirting with your eyes. And the exercise gets people in the mood for online dating because they're already in touch with their warm and curious sides before matching with a stranger. Then hold your eye contact for 3 seconds with somebody walking by in the opposite direction. As you're about to pass each other, offer a brief smile or a smirk, depending on your audience. If it is a hot person, you might have to slightly differentiate your look in your eye than with an 80-year-old woman. And that when you're doing an in-person date, it should happen after you've spoken on the phone for a few minutes at least. When you meet, keep it up to 30 minutes and grab coffee or an early drink so that you can reflect on the experience after. And there you go. So, a couple things to take from that. Negging and flirting. And what there's even said right there was, like, that was kind of like a neg anyway, that Julia here in the story talks about the fact that, oh, you're disdain for naps. Kind of like picking on his fact that he likes to sleep a little bit. So there's a way to do it where you can be playful. And that's the whole idea of the difference between negging and flirting. That you want to be playful about it. And really, that's where some of the manipulation talk about, where they say, okay, the guy will then be sweet and nice, but then he'll be a little bit surly. He'll be a little bit, critical. And kind of play a jerk. Like play a jerk and then play a sweetheart. It's like that back and forth. So the idea is the negging is trying to give you the back and forth. And if you're just negging, you're just doing it wrong. But once in a while being playful, I mean, not to the point where they were negging right there, what they talked about. That's a little too much. But I think there's a mixture of both you could go for. And who knows? Some of the girls that you might talk to might just have it that way. Some of the guys you talk to might just have it that way. You never know. So anyway, I'll leave it there, and I'll talk to you next time.